and he has personally trained over 8,500 participants and counting. So I believe that you'll be part of the numbers Abeza will be training this year for analytics, right? Please just give me a minute. Let me quickly tidy up something. Yeah, so I'm back. So sorry about that. All right, so moving on to just get the session started. All right, so meet me. Actually, I'm the growth lead for analytics, and what I try to do is to drive individuals like you know, to learn this skill set. Some persons have reached out to me and say they do not have any experience with regards to tech. They've never done anything tech before in their life. This is their first time of getting to understand what tech is, right? So I am your go-to person. I'll try to groom you. I'll try to mentor you to selecting the best program, or let's say the best career path that suits you, right? So I'll be coming back after this session, to talk more about analytics and how business analysts is the best career path for you, right? So I have close to 4 years experience in high-level project management and strategic planning. And with analytics, I have helped over 3,000 people transition into tech. The persons have never gotten to know what tech is over the last couple of months, right? I have been able to, to convert them, to select the best tech career that suits them, right? So I'm actually passionate about making tech attractive to individuals with a no computer related degree, right? And with business analysis, you actually do not need to have any degree with regards to, let's say, computer science or even computer engineering, right? You learning Yoruba, or let's say English language, you are already a very fantastic talent for a BA, right? So moving on. Yeah, so what will we be doing today, right? So our first goal today, like is number one, we'll be working on requirements gathering techniques for business analysts. Because as a business analyst, this is your core. This is the major thing you'll be doing, right? Majority of the time, you would be gathering tech requirements. As I do call it, requirements are actually like ingredients, right? Let's say you want to cook a soup. Now you need specific ingredients to make that soup come to life. So actually this is what I call requirement, right? You need to gather specific items, right? That would ensure that you have your project success, like your project becomes a success actually, right? So we'll be walking you through in today's session, requirement gathering techniques for business analysts. And Linda will be doing that session with you. And once she's done, I'll come in to show you how you can become a business analyst within the next 3 months, right? How you can become a business analyst within the next 3 months. And also I will speak on our upcoming business analysis cohort coming up in November 4th. And I'll be sharing with you success stories as well as the special discounts, or let's say bonanza, or let's say the gift I'll be giving out to every participant that will be on this call till the end of the session, right? All right, so quickly, let's meet our facilitator, Linda Iziafuna. Yes, so I believe I did not murder your name, Linda. So let's do a bit of introduction with, of Linda, right? So Linda is a business analyst with over 10 years working experience as a BA. Okay. Right, so she's an expert business analyst and has worked with top organizations across the globe, including Bureaus of Market and Social Research in Ghana, Metafrogs, and Integrated Oil and Gas Company, right? Linda is actually versatile with requirement analysis, and actually this is what we'll be doing today, right? So it's actually our onions, and it's something that she do as a BA in her day-to-day life, right? She's also versatile with business process mapping, Postman API, process flow diagrams, process flow documentation. She's also proficient with project management tools like Jira, Visio, Agile methodologies, Scrum, SQL, Power BI, Slack. Mention mention the tools BAs do use. Linda is a go-to person. So as a BA with over 10 years experience, I'm really super glad to have Linda on this program to walk us through requirement gathering techniques as a business analyst. Over to you, Linda. Linda, if you are here, you can unmute yourself and say hi.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Awesome.
All right. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining in from. My name is Linda. Okay. Sorry, can anyone still hear me?
Yes, sure, I can.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
I went blank.
I hear you.
Okay. All right, okay. Anyways, you actually did murder my name, but it's fine. So my name is Linda Iziefuna. Yeah. All right, so I'll go ahead to share my screen. Unfortunately, it would have been nice to meet you guys on the call, but you can as well just introduce yourself on the chat, and at the end of the session, we can just take some few minutes to get to know you, right? And please, my screen is coming up. Let me know when you can see my screen.
All right, yes, we can.
All right. Okay. So just a brief intro. I know he's done a good job in introducing myself, but let me focus on the specifics, right? So my name is Linda, as I've said twice already. So just to give you an idea of my career journey before becoming transitioning into becoming a business analyst. I did lecturing for 2 years in two different universities, and one in Nigeria, one outside of Nigeria. I moved on from becoming a lecturer to doing something around the line of business development executive. It got boring for me because it was very monotonous. So I had to then move into data analysis. There, I grew my passion for analyzing data. I used Power BI, I used SQL. I mostly use Excel for a lot of my data visualizing activities. Then from there, I transitioned into business analysis. However, I've had a lot of people who have mentored transition from a totally different non-IT background into business analysis. So business analysis, project management, cybersecurity, these are all aspects of IT courses that do not require you to necessarily know how to code. So they are non-technical in nature. And reason being that we can't have all within the IT space, everything being technical. We need to have people who know how to communicate the technical things to the non-technical people. And that is where you come in as a business analyst. So I'll be telling you what your role entails, and also we'll focus on what we are going to be doing for today. But just know that it's going to be on the surface level. This is just an intro. For some of you who are already in the line of business analysis and some who are trying to transition, this would be a very good journey for you because you're starting from the basics. And our core role as business analysts is gathering requirements. So you're in a good place. Yeah. So please stay with me for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and try as much as possible to remove distractions from you. And I hope we can be able to achieve something together. So I have been a business analyst so far. I haven't moved because it has been an interesting journey for me, being able to work on different projects, being able to be part of ideation phase. That's I think that's the value for me. Besides, the money is also very good. Business analysis is also a course, a career path within the IT space. So what that means is you have the leverage to work remotely. It's very flexible. There are freelancing opportunities that you can take on. I mean, I've had opportunities working in countries outside of Nigeria, stationed in Nigeria. So it's amazing when you're stationed in Nigeria and then you get to earn USD. And for some of us that are Nigerians on this call, we know how much that is. So that's another beauty when it comes to another pegs with moving into IT. So here are the diverse profiles within the business analyst realm. So I just want to give you an idea of the different career paths that you can be exposed to as a business analyst. Yeah, one is a very typical business analyst. You are all-rounder. If a role is advertised on LinkedIn, for instance, and you're looking for a business analyst, you know that you're going to go into the institution and meet anything. So when I say anything, you can be exposed to different kind of projects. You can be exposed to data migration projects. You can be exposed to process optimization projects, automation or optimization projects. You can be exposed to even working on products. So that's who you are as a business analyst. So you are not specific. IT business analyst. And also you can be exposed to working on project that is not necessarily IT. So being a business analyst, they believe that you're coming in to come and help them identify business problems and opportunities. Please let me know if you can still hear me. Can I see your virtual hands up? Just to be sure that I'm not talking to myself. It's very possible that the network can just block me off. Okay, all right, okay, all right. So, and if you have any questions, okay, we'll come back to question time. So let's hold on to the questions for now so that we can get it. That's for IT business analysts. If you're coming in as an IT business analyst, you can be very sure that all the projects you're going to be working on will be IT based. So what am I saying? Whenever a problem is identified, the solution that you know that would address that problem is definitely within the IT space. For instance, if we need to build a system to address the problem, if we need to build a new system, if we need to optimize, or if we need to enhance the system, or we need to re-engineer the system, that's what you'll be doing as an IT business analyst. So being an IT business analyst, you're definitely going to be working closely with two different stakeholders, two different diverse stakeholders. The first set of stakeholders you're going to be working with will be your business team, right? The business team are those that, so I'll be telling you all of these things gradually. And then the next set of stakeholders you're going to be working with are your technical team. That includes your developers. And even within the development team, you have your front-end developers, you have your back-end developers, you have your web developers, you have your mobile developers, depending on what projects you're working on. And you're also going to be working with your QAs, that's the quality assurance guys. Some companies call them the testers. You're going to be working with those set of people. You're also going to be working with your database administrators. That's for those that manage the database. You're definitely going to be working with them, and you also be working with very key person who is your designers. You're going to be working with your designers. So your designers could be those that work on the system engineering aspects, architecture. So those that work on the system architecture, they look at the front end and the back end, and they give you an architectural diagram, right? Sorry, 1 second, please. Okay, yeah. So they give you an architectural diagram, right? So these are the people you're going to be working with being an IT business analyst. So you know that all your projects, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be working more as a system. So IT and system analysts are very closely related. Now, another diverse aspect of realm within the business analyst is called the process analyst. What do they do majorly? For process analysts, they are focused more on process reengineering activities. So an example would be, let me pick somebody on the call. So if I say to Temitope today, Temitope, can you walk me through your processes? So from the time that Temitope wakes up in the morning till the time that I like to use this example all the time, even in my classes, because it's very relatable to people, unlike when you're picking on very difficult things. Because remember that we have different aspects of people on this call. There are people who are already doing 9 to 5. There are people who are, they have been home staying, they've stayed at home all through. They haven't really ventured into any career path and they are trying to find themselves. So when you have different categories of people, it's very important that you cite examples that speak to everyone generally. So I'll be using this example and I'll use Temitope because I can see him on my screen. So if I say to Temitope now, can you walk me through your activities? What you do from the time you wake up till the time you get out of, to your office. And what are we trying to do? Why am I telling Temitope to walk me through his activity? First of all, let us identify what Temitope's activities are. Number one, Temitope is telling me when I wake up, the first thing I do is I pick up my phone, or I wake up, the first thing I do is I meditate or I pray. The next thing, I pick up my phone, I browse my phone for like 10 minutes to look at whatever online, I surf the internet. And when I'm done, I go into brush my teeth, I shower, I take my morning breakfast, and I set off for the day. That's what I want to identify. What are the things you do between the hours of when you wake up to when you step out, you step out of your home? That's what I want to do. Why am I asking Temitope to list out his processes? I am doing so because we want to identify some of the gaps in Temitope's process. Assuming Temitope comes to me to say, hey, Linda, I'm not productive. I'm not productive. I get to work very late. I don't know why I get to work very late. So for us to be able to understand why Temitope gets to work very late, we need to understand his activities. And that's what processes is just speaking to. So for instance, if you as a business analyst, you're going to be assigned to the HR department to say, you are the BA, all your projects are going to be within the HR department. So what you're going to majorly be doing is understanding all of the processes within the HR department and how you can come in to re-engineer those processes, automate those processes, or optimize those processes. That is what a process analyst does. We give an example within the HR department. Let's say we want to look at the onboarding process. There have been a lot of complaints that the retention rates the retention rate is very low and it's linked to the onboarding process. So there's a direct relationship between the onboarding process and the retention rate. So you want to look at the retention rate, so you want to look at the onboarding process. What would you do as a business analyst? You call the process owners, that's those who work within the HR department. You then start to ask them questions. Why are you asking them questions? First of all, what you want to do is that you want to be able to understand what the current processes are. So walk me through your current processes. So, and then he says, oh, from when they come in, they have an induction for 3 days. After the induction, they do so and so, they do so. Why are you asking those questions? You want to be able to gather data around the assist process. So when I mean as is, how you do things currently, you want to be able to gather data around that processes because you want them to move to a to be state. And what is a to be state? A better state. So a more optimized state. Probably during the time where your process owner is giving you all the information around the current assist. You, Temitope, or anyone on the call can already tell, I don't think we should be doing this. I think we should replace this with this. I think we should do this. That is where you come in as a business analyst. So it is expected that when you walk in as a process analyst, most of the processes that are done manually, you should be able to identify a lot of the manual process to say we want to automate the process. So many processes that are repetitive, you want to be able to identify those repetitive processes to say we want to automate those processes. So many processes that are archaic, you want to also say what I want to be able to automate, I want to be able to what optimize those processes, automate it. So that is what you would be doing majorly as a process analyst. And then for a functional analyst and okay, for a functional analyst and a requirement engineer, basically, is more focused on you coming in and being able to gather requirements, speak to your stakeholders, understand what their needs are, and document it, which is what we are going to be doing today. So this is the entire course module that you're going to be looking at if you were to have taken the full course module. What we're going to be focusing on is just the very, not the nitty-gritty aspect of the requirement fundamentals, elicitation, specification, and approval. Sorry, are we allowed to unmute? If not, you can just mute yourself so we don't have that distraction. So we're going to be looking at this more on a not on a nitty-gritty level, but on a higher level, right? All right. Let's see if I can move this here. My distractions. All right, so let me see if I can. Okay, all right. Okay, I think it's fine. I think I can see. I don't want to share this. Okay, we are good now. All right, that's fine. So requirement analysis stage, what are we looking at here? First of all, the first thing we do as business analysts is what we want to gather requirements. So what we're going to be looking at is just number one. Number two is a whole totally different things, which is how do you document your BRD, your business requirement document, your FRD, your functional requirement document, all those things falls into number two. And then number three, requirement modeling. How do you visually present those things, those informations that you have gathered? That's where the whole process mapping using Visio, everything comes into play. We're not looking at number two, number three, neither are we talking about number four. We're only looking at number one, and number one, it's not exhaustive, right? We're just looking at it on a high level. So the first step as a business analyst is being able to what? Collect business process documentation and conduct interviews with stakeholders. So what we want to do now, we want to look at, sorry. Okay. Okay, all right. So what is elicitation? Yeah, when we say requirement elicitation or elicitation, what are we speaking to? It's just a practice of researching and discovering requirements of a new system from users or stakeholders. So let me break it down. As I would really have wanted to use my whiteboard, but for the sake of time, I'll go and explain. That's why I said, please try as much as possible to quiet all your distractions. It will be very good. So as a business analyst, who are you? You stand as a bridge between two diverse set of, or two different set of people. The first set of people you're going to be working with, they are called the business team. And who are the composition of the business team? The business team could be your project sponsors. So who is your project sponsor? The person who literally pays for the project. So that's who we refer to as the project sponsor. Another set of people that falls within the business team also are your process owners. Who are your process owners, right? Who are these process owners? They are the ones that also fall within the business team. So when I say process owners, I'll give you an example. You're working within the HR department, right? And I want to understand what your onboarding process is. Who would I be speaking to? I'll probably be speaking to the onboarding specialist or the recruitment specialist, or however distinctions you place within the HR department. So the process owner is the one who understands the processes, the one who currently live the process. So when I say you live, it's like, I want to understand. Let's say I want to understand. So I want to capture the processes when a customer comes into the bank and the customer wants to collect money, not through an ATM or digital means. They want to physically collect cash from the bank. who would I be speaking to understand that process? I would definitely be speaking with not just the end users, who is the customer who would come in. I would also be speaking with the teller. Yeah, I'll be speaking to the teller rather, because that's the person who goes through all of the process, the person who has the interactions with these customers. So your process owner are also called the SMEs, who is the subject matter expert. They are the ones that understand the processes. They are the ones that you're going to be speaking to or speaking with, the ones who will guide you through all of the informations that you need to gather. Yeah, the ones who will give you clarity as regards the needs that they have. So the first set of people you're going to be interacting with are your business team. And what relationship do you have with your business team? Your business team are people that majorly tells you what they need. So you are standing as a gap or as a bridge between two people. The bridge is you, the business analyst, you're in the middle. You have your business team on your, this is my left-hand side. You have your business team on your left-hand side. They are telling you what they need. The next set of people you're going to be working with are the people on my right-hand side. That's who? Your technical team. So the left-hand side is telling you what they need, and the right-hand side is trying to address that need. So you, the middle, that's my body without my hand. You in the middle, you're the one that is speaking to my right-hand side. Sorry, yeah, speaking to my left-hand side to collect the information. What are your needs? So basically, you're going in there. What you want to do first as a business analyst is you want to be able to understand the assist process. Remember, I said as business analyst, you're going to be working on three different types of projects. Number one, you're going to be working on new systems. That's new system. It's new. It's not currently existing. Totally new, right? Let's say an example is your company currently does things manually. They are using paper for everything, and you want to scrap out all the paper. You want to introduce a paperless system where everything will be done digitally. That system was not existing prior to the project you're currently undertaking. That's what we refer to as new systems. However, you have introduced that system, but you realize that there are some new things that we can add that will improve user experience. That is what we refer to as what? System enhancements. You have it existing, but you are enhancing it. Now, system reengineering, you've realized that either the system is too old, you are using old version, or you are it's too slow, or you want to, the database you're using, the server you're using is outdated, you want to move to a new server. These are the things that we refer to as system reengineering projects. You're reengineering the entire system because of something you want to achieve. So these are the three different categories of projects you're likely going to be you're likely going to be involved in as a business analyst. And how do you drive those projects? You're going to be speaking with my left-hand side, who is your project team, to understand what initiative, what projects we need to work on. What are your pain points? So basically, you're asking them, what are your problems? How can we help you? That is what you're here. That is what you have been employed to do. And then when they now voice out their problems to you, oh, you know what? It is taking forever to approve loan. It is doing this, it is doing that. You have already established what their pain points. So what you need to do as a business analyst, before driving the conversation further, the first thing you need to do is number one, understand the assist business problems. If you say, you tell me as a business analyst or as a process owner, I have a pain point in, let's say, let me use another example that is not HR, so that, I mean, people don't think I work within the HR. So let's use another example. Let's say you have already informed me, Temitope said to me, hi Linda, I get to work late and it's really impacting my appraisals. What do I do? As a business analyst, the first thing he has informed me of his pain points. The first thing that I need to do is I want to be able to understand the as is, how he currently does things, what are his activities. How does he move around? So when he wakes up in the morning, what is he spending his time on, and what are the activities? I want to be able to understand those things. I cannot come in and I'm quick to giving you a solution without understanding what your current activities are. So as a business analyst, you always drive your conversations from understanding what the as is process is. How are things currently done? That is what as is means. How do you do things currently? That is what you should, that is how you should drive your conversation. And that's how you become very successful in achieving projects. How do you understand the assist process, right? Number one is you analyze the existing systems. So for some of you that will be working as IT business analysts and system analysts, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be working more on systems. So an example is, so let's say, okay, I'm not sharing my entire screen. Let's say we are picking up one product online. Let's say we're looking at Clovo. Yeah, some of you have probably bought food from Clovo or one of these food sites. Yeah. So let's say we're looking at Clovo, right? Let's say we www.clovo.com, right? We've been given the URL link. You're looking at Clovo. And you as a business analyst, you want to change some of the processes within the Clovo app to improve user experience. So you have looked at the other, food ordering apps, and you realize that people prefer that app to Clovo. So you're trying to change some of the things that you feel is the pain points that your customers are experiencing with the Clovo app. This is an example that I'm citing, right? So just cast your mind. What you will be doing is you want to be able to understand the processes within the Clovo app that you're trying to change. That's you understanding the assist process. How do you understand? You want to be able to analyze the existing system. Now, when you're working as an IT business analyst, you are going to be having access to different environments, right? You're going to be having access to the testing environment, which some companies call the sandbox environment. So you either call it test environment or you call it sandbox environment. So the test environment, you have the test environment, you have the live environment. Let me just focus on those two. They are different environment, but let me focus on those two so that I don't confuse you. So let's say we have the test environment, which is also called the sandbox environment, and we have the live environment, right? As business analysts, for somebody that wants to optimize the processes within Clovo app, you are going to be looking at test environments. So every company they've got two different environments, the test and the live. The test is where you go and play around things, right? So let's give an example. You are banking with GT app, and GT wants to add a new functionality to the app. So let's say before now, you cannot buy airtime with GT app. GT app decided that all the banks, you can buy airtime. Let me add airtime functionality. When your developers are working and trying to add airtime functionality to the GT mobile app, do you think they will run and go and add it to the live environment? Of course, no, they will not do that. Imagine things go and break, and then you wake up in the morning, you've transferred 1,000 naira, somebody's receiving 20 million naira. Nobody messes up with their life environment. They would go and play around the test environment. That is why I said that your life and your test are replica of each other. They are like identical twins. It is believed that every change that you do in your test environment, when you are done testing, when you are done doing all the testing that you're supposed to do as a business analyst and a QA and a developer, and you are satisfied, then you can push your code to the live environment. It is believed that the way the test environment works, that's the way the live environment would work. So nobody goes into a live environment and they are coding and messing things up. You go into your test environment and you do all the play and everything that you need to do before you push your things into the live environment. So what I'm saying when I say analyze existing system as a business analyst, I am saying that go into the test environment and see how it works. Simulate the process. That is one of the ways you can understand the assist process. Go in there, ask for the URL link. Oh, you guys want me to change Clovo app. Can you give me the test environment to Clovo app? Let me go and play around with it and understand how it currently works before we make changes to it. That's what I'm referring to. Another way that you can understand the assist process is doing documentation analysis. Are there any existing documents that could help you understand the existing process? Maybe, for instance, an SOP, an SLA, standard operating procedures, SLA. If you have all of those documents, you can ask your process owner, the guy on my left. Remember, the business team is on my left and the technical team is on my right. So the guy on the left, you can ask him, do you have any documentation that can give me insight into what your assist process is? If yes, please share with me. Let me go and understand. That's another way you can use to understand the assist process, right? So when you have been able to explore these two options, then you can say, you know what, I think I understand to some extent what your assist process is. Let us jump on a call so that I can clearly validate what I have understood and then understand where we want to be, which is our to be state. So that is what you need to do. So before you move to a to be state as a business analyst, you must be coming from a knowledge of an assist state. And how do you get to your assist state is by what? Analyzing existing system, looking at documentation and all of that. So let me look at my team and just ask you questions. Are we following? If you're following, please let me see your virtual hands. Are we getting anything from today's class? Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, I can't see my hands, so let me know who is following. Okay, all right. So for the rest of you, do we need to go over something? Are we gaining something today? All right, okay. Okay, so there'll be time for questions, right? And please don't feel overwhelmed if everything is new to you. When we sit down and we are breaking these things to you, it becomes clearer, right? Okay, thank you very much. So the next thing you're doing is you have come from a place of, I understand what Temitope spends his time on. I understand what he's currently doing. So now what I need to do is, how do I move Temitope to a to be state? A state where his appraisal scores will improve. A state where he's not getting to work late. That's what I want him to achieve. I want to address his pain points, and that is what I do as a business analyst. And how do I do that? I will jump on a call with Temitope to ask certain questions. It's very possible that I have understood what Temitope does with his time, but I need to jump on a call with him as well to be able to work with him to get to a to be state. So that is an example of Temitope. But if you're working in a real setting, oftentimes the business owners, that's the guys on my left, they already know what solution or what approach they want to do. In fact, because they are more knowledgeable about the processes more than you do, oftentimes they walk us through what they want us to do. So more or less, they communicate their business requirements to us to say, these are my pain points. These are the current problems. These are my assist states. This is the proposed solution that I'm bringing forward. So there are times where their proposed solution makes sense when we liaise with the guys on my right, that's the technical team. And there are other times where their solution cannot be achievable. So I am acting as a bridge between these two guys. Why is my role very important? So why am I within the tech space? Number one, as a BA, I am here to be able to clearly map out and clearly state all their requirements. Trust me, you might think that these guys know what they want, but it's not all the time. So Sometimes they just wake up from, a dreamland and believe that this is what they need to do to achieve, this is what they need to do so that their pain point will be addressed. But it's not all the time. So being a business analyst, and for someone who have been focused on re-engineering processes within that department for a while, you now get to act in the capacity of an SME because you understand all the processes that have been engineered. You do not only understand the processes, you understand all the technicalities within the process. And that is how we work. When you get a job, right, you're going to be assigned to an entity. Some companies call it entity, other companies call it future teams. The reason why they are not just putting you inside the company. So let's say we have a Nestle, you're going to be working with Nestle, right? So if Nestle is employing you as a business analyst, Nestle is not going to just come in here and dump you into the company. No. Nestle will tell you, Pamela and Peter, you're going to be handling HR departments. John, you're going to be handling, customer experience departments. They are going to put you in different entities. Why? Because they want you to understand, digest, become part of the HR process so much that you now become the SME. You can then advise them on what they can do to be able to become better, on what they can do to make their life better, on what they can do to ensure that they deliver their tasks faster, which will now impact on the overall productivity of the company. So when you go in, don't be quick to wanting to put yourself. So what I always advise people who are coming in, especially when you're joining a firm, for the very first time, trust me, coming from somebody that have joined, different firms in a very short time. Whenever you're joining, one of the things I've always learned is as a business analyst, spend months understanding what the assist processes are. You never go wrong when you drive conversations from understanding the assist process. You never go wrong. So come from an angle where you're understanding the assist process. And then when you now want to move to the to-be state, what are some of the techniques that you're going to employ to move to the to-be state? Sorry, 1 second. You're going to, number one, you're going to be using interviews. Interviews are one of the ways that you drive conversations with your guy on the left, right? You can jump on a call, one-on-one conversations with them. You're trying to document your business requirements or your functional requirement documents. Remember, I said we are not focusing on number two, we're focusing on number one. So we're looking at the techniques. One of the techniques that you can use to drive those conversations is through interviews. Another way is brainstorming, right? So brainstorming sessions, you're gathering a group of people and you're putting them, that's the different subject matter experts based on the projects that you're working on. So if you have a project, for instance, you're doing, let's say you're building a project or a system that has to interface with different departments. Let's say, so I worked on a project for Lagos State, and what we did was that we came up with we automated the contract, we automated the contractual process. So what I'm trying to say is, so for contractors who have finished fulfilling their contract, how do they get their money, right? So we did that process. We automated all the approval flows and all of that. Now, that contractual process, we had to touch on different units to be able to achieve that. So from first of all, the procurement agency, where the award letter comes in, to all of the separate ministries, the ministry that we're working on. So it was specific ministry that we worked on. So the different units, finance, different units that we're going to touch on before your money is disbursed to you. That's a way of automating that process. So if you're going to be working on such a project, you can pick a process owner from procurement agency, for instance. pick another one from finance, pick another person from procurement, and you put them together in a room to say, let us have conversations. I know you're likely to ask, what are some of the questions we're going to be asking them? We're going to get to that. Another one very similar to brainstorming, it's also a joint application design. The only why I said it's similar is just because you work with a group of people, but it's not similar. The objectives are different. For joint application design, is just like the name suggests, you're working with a group of people to probably agree on designs. You're moving towards something you want to achieve. I see it to be very similar to, brainstorming sessions. You're still having your subject matter experts from the different field. You're bringing them together and you're asking them questions and you're trying to understand their perspective. So we'll get to that very quickly. Another one is prototyping and use cases, but we would really not touch on these two. Why? Because the most important one that we use as business analysts is really interviews. We also use, so let's go back to, yes. So questionnaires, we use questionnaires to be able to get information from these guys here. That's the business team. We use questionnaires. Questionnaires is usually very useful, especially when you're working on qualitative and quantitative data, and it's also good for answering specific questions, right? That's when you use questionnaires. When you're answering specific questions, you use questionnaires. So that's some of the ways that you want to use questionnaires. I really do not like, but it's good. So when you're working on projects where you have to seek clarity from multiple people, you can't be jumping on interviews with multiple people. Questionnaires is always a good one. A lot of people will say, why not do focus group and workshop? Focus group and workshop get for body. It has its own problem, because if you gather group of people who feel that they know and you want to ask them questions, the tendency for them to derail from the objective of your conversation is very high. You as a business analyst and also a facilitator in that meeting, you have to be very intentional to ensure that you drive your conversations around the scope of the project, else they'll move you away from that project. Another one that I love using is interviews. For me, is interviews. So I will just look for. So when I want to do interviews, I do something called stakeholder analysis. And what do? I ensure that I pick the most knowledgeable person in that department, the person that is very knowledgeable around that process. Having worked as a business analyst for some time, I have realized that it's very quick for us to assume that the head of department is the most knowledgeable person, or the team lead is the most knowledgeable person. No. Oftentimes, it can just be the person with the lowest rank that has the most knowledge. It takes very special skill for you to be able to identify such a person. So as a business analyst, when you're doing your stakeholder analysis, you need to be able to have conversations. Once you've had interactions with all these people, you can tell the ones that will be of most value to you. And those are the people that you should put at the forefront of your conversations, because they are the ones that will give you clarity as regarding the assist very quickly, right? There are times where I've had to engage heads of departments and team leads, and they'll redirect me to somebody else. They'll say, come, Linda, no, 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 no. I cannot answer these questions. Go and meet Fumi. Fumi will give you clarity. Most times, Fumi does not even have that ranking. So your SME can be anybody. And then there are other times where the head of department is actually the most knowledgeable. So it really just depends on who you're working with. The focus group and workshops is when you want to collect multiple viewpoints. Like I said, it's very easy to say, why am I sending questionnaires? Questionnaires for me, sometimes people do not read emails. When you dump questionnaires for them, they never respond. So it's just easier for you to say, Omo, abeg, I like to see people's face. Let us sit down in a room. Let's eat biscuit and tea and answer my questions, and let me get it over and done with. It's very easy. Focus group and workshops are ways of collecting multiple viewpoints. But one thing around this is that you must ensure, yeah, there is a possibility of a dominant character, which is very, very, very key. Imagine you're having a focus group discussions, you're putting leads and putting people who are not leads in that conversation. Who do you think will want to speak on top of their voices? Obviously, the leads. They are the ones that want to speak on top of their voices. And then even the people who are not leads, who are more knowledgeable, they tend to then shy away or be in their shell. So those kind of conversations, you might not get the outputs that you're looking for. So it's not all the time where people just want to jump on focus group discussions, right? And then naturalistic observation. Naturalistic observation is one of the ways that you can observe. I've worked on a project where we're doing we had to use naturalistic observation. So we were trying to address a pain point for a very top restaurant in in Lagos. And one of the things that we're working on, my team was in charge of working on processes around service. So from the time you walk into the restaurant, how are you attended to, and all of those things. Yeah. For things like that, it's easier to just say, I want to interview the bartender, or I want to interview the waiter. Waiter, come. How long does it take you to attend to a customer when he or she walks into the restaurant? The waiter will tell you what is stated in the SLA. The waiter will tell you, oh, 2 minutes, 2 minutes max. I have to approach a customer that is seated, because that's what he has been told. That's what is stated in his SLA. But if I want to get the true picture of things, I have to use naturalistic observation. So I have to go in there as a mystery shopper, go in there, go in at different times and see how long it took for a waiter to approach me and how many minutes it took for my meal to get. So if I'm going to meet the chef and say, how long does it take you to prep somebody's meal? He will say 10 minutes, because that's what is stated in his SLA when he was coming to the company. But if I go in there as a mystery shopper trying to observe things for myself, I can tell if he's actually, if the 10 minutes they've communicated to me or the 2 minutes communicated by the waiter is actually true. So these are instances where you do not have to ask people questions. You go in there to observe what they do and document their observations. This one has its own side to it, because it can be very time consuming and huge amount of data. I'm sure the slides will be shared with you as well. Studying documentation, I've already talked about it. Learning about the procedures, regulations, and standard. That's another way that you get to gather data around the projects that you're working on. Understanding the documentations and all of that. So quickly, there's just something when you go in as a business analyst, what are the questions that you're supposed to be asking, which is what we're going to be doing and rounding up. Yeah, because it's supposed to be a very, not an extended masterclass. Number one, I always say this, please always ask open-ended questions. What are examples of open-ended questions? Yeah. Or let's even start, what are close-ended questions? Close-ended questions could be, let's say you're working on an e-commerce project, right? And the e-commerce project you're working on, you want to be able to gather requirements around payment. So when people push items into their carts, how do they want to pay? How do they want to pay for those items in their carts? That's what the requirements you're gathering. When you contact this guy here, which is the guy on my left, there's every tendency for you to say to them, do you want to pay with direct transfer? Do you want to pay with Paystack? Do you want to pay with whatever? Do you want to pay with your debit card, with your credit card? There's every tendency, or do you want to do a virtual payment? Or do you want to do pay now, do buy now, pay later? That's you giving them idea what they should need. So as business analysts, you're not going in there to be quick to telling the business what they need. You are going in there to understand what they need. Those are two different things. You're not going to tell people what they need. You're going there to understand their needs. It's like we are like therapists, right? Imagine you're going to therapy. Half of the time, well, I haven't been to one, but if I'm judging by what I've seen in movies, half of the time they just have like a pen and a paper in front of them and they are listening and taking notes. Listening skill is one of the things that you need to have as a business analyst. You're not going in there to be opinionated. You're not going there to show your opinions. You're going there to listen, right? So if you're going in there to listen, then you need to ask open-ended questions. So going back in that scenario, what questions would you ask? What payment methods would you want your customers to use in clearing their carts? That's an open-ended question. Let the business tell you what they need. When they have communicated what they need, and your technical team is saying they cannot do it, that's a totally different scenario. You do not go in there to put ideas into their head. Let them tell you what they need. So always ask open-ended questions. Do not ask close-ended questions that gives the solution to the business, because you are there to listen. I've seen a couple of times when projects fail, the business will turn around to say, we did not tell you to do this, so you were the one that did it. Remember that you are trying to solve their problem. It's like you are an architect, right? You're trying to draw up architectural diagram for a house. No matter how knowledgeable you are, the person who is going to approve the architectural diagram at the end of the day is the one who has contracted you for that job. So my boss, my main oga will always tell me, Linda, the business pays your salary, so you have to listen to them. So you always need to ask open-ended questions. And another thing is, as business analysts, always ask questions in logical sequence. Very important. So when I say logical sequence, how do I bring in a practical perspective to this? You need to know what documents, what requirements are you gathering? The first requirement we end up gathering as business analysts is called a BRD, which is a business requirement document. That's the first phase of documentation that is supposed to give you a high level requirement of what the business requires, of what the business needs, right? So that's the first thing that you're supposed to gather as a business analyst. So what do you do, right? When you want to gather a BRD, I can bet you that every single company has got a standardized template that can guide you in what you want to document. So it's a matter of picking up that template and ensuring that the questions are in logical sequence. Yeah. So you do not miss out on anything. So definitely one of the questions you want to be asking is, you want to be able to ask questions around what are your current problems. So as a business analyst, you cannot start your questions from what solutions do you want before asking what your problems are. So that is me saying you need to ask your questions in logical sequence. Yeah. All right. So these are some of the things that, sorry, just give me 1 second, please. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. Please, can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, okay. All right. Okay, so you ask your questions in logical sequence, very important. So this is an idea of some of the questions you're going to be asking. And then what was the output? What are you looking to get? So the questions you're likely to be asking are the ones in blue. The outputs are the ones in red. So when you ask a question, what are you looking to get? That's what I'm referring to as the outputs. So an example of questions you can ask is, I'm curious what led to this idea. So when you ask people those kind of questions, I'm curious what led to this idea, they want to give you an idea. So when you ask such a question, what are you expecting to get? You know that they will tell you, I'm always opening Nestle bottle. the water finishes very quickly and it's frustrating me, is doing this, they tend to now express their pain points aggressively to you. So you can ask those kind of questions that guides you into what you're looking to. So when I ask these kind of questions, what I'm looking to getting from them is, what is the business problem? Because what led to this idea? Why are you calling me to work on this project? That's basically what I'm asking you. And that's what they always, that's the response they would give to you. An example is, if you want to understand the assist process, right? When I said for Temitope, for instance, I want Temitope to walk me through his activities, his morning activities from when he wakes up to step out of the home. If I want to ask Temitope such a question, I can just go to him to say, show me what is currently happening, walk me through it, walk me through your processes, walk me through from the time you wake up in the morning, and when you're documenting processes too, it's something that you also need to move in logical sequence. So for instance, you can start with, what's the first thing, Temitope? What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Temitope says, the first thing I do when I wake up is I meditate. Okay, so after meditation, what do you do next? He says, oh, I do this. Okay, after doing this, what do you do next? You need to constantly keep them. There are a lot of people that they zoom out after 5 minutes when they are talking. Sometimes they even drive conversations and the next thing you're hearing, oh, I've lost my line of thoughts. Those kind of people always losing their line of thoughts. So for people like that, you need to ensure that you're constantly asking them, okay, so what happened next? So when you break the laptop, what happens next? So when you do this, what happens next? So that way you are asking the questions in logical sequence. You're not missing out on anything. So for instance, if you want to have an idea what the project background is, yeah, you can ask questions like, I'm excited to better understand the history of how this came about. Can you give me, throw more light, give me more insight? And then they start telling you, oh, we were using Excel in 2020 and now we're doing this, we're doing that. These are just, sample questions. But for someone who is starting off as a BA, one of the things I always advise is, number one, when you go in, companies, your teammates or your buddies will share templates with you that would guide you. So if it's a UAT template, they will share with you. If it's a BRED template, you share with you. So a BRED template that they shared with you, it will have all the components of things that should be in a BRED. So for instance, if you're the BRED that your body has shared with you has current problems, assist process, proposed solution, systems impacted, then the high level functionality. It's a guiding process for you to understand what to ask your people, what to ask these guys. That's the guy on my left in the field. So that's a guiding process for you. Then when you now become more and more involved, then you now drive your conversations more towards user experience and all of those things. But when you're starting off, using the template strictly can be something that would really guide you. So this is just, like I said, it's a high level. It's because you have quite a number of people on the call. We would have loved to have a breakout sessions where I'm guiding you through coming up with a BRD, because that's one document that I can bet you that's the first assignment you'll be given as a business analyst. But like I said, this is just a preliminary study. There's definitely more to come. So that's all from my end. And so I think it's time for us to ask questions. So I'm here for your questions. Over to you, Elijah Obong.
All right, thank you very much, Linda.
Yeah.
That was a very insightful session. At least I learned something from our end. It was very, very elaborate. So very, very elaborate. So quickly, let's just take let's say 2 questions before we move to the other aspect of the session. I don't know if Temitope wants to ask a question. I've been seeing his hands up since.
Well, I've been using his name a lot, so let's hear from him.
All right, okay. Temitope, you might want to unmute yourself and ask a question. All right. Okay. Ismail, you want to unmute yourself? Let me ask you to unmute. Unmute. I've asked you to unmute yourself. So let's quickly do this so that we move. Okay. Sarah, too, I've asked you to unmute you. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, let's go to the chat. If I think some persons are having hard times unmuting themselves. All right, so someone is asking in the chat, what is the difference between this and requirements management plan?
Okay. What is this? We don't make assumptions as business analysts. What is this? Let me hear from you.
Please request okay. Sarah, I've asked you to unmute yourself. So I've asked you to
Ask
unmute
your
yourself.
question. Exactly.
Yeah. And iPhone, you might want to put up your hand so I can unmute you from here. So I can ask you to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Kelechi.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
All right, so I just have one question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a business analyst can also be regarded as more or less a consultant, because what I'm seeing and noticing today is there is little or no actual technicality involved in terms of coding, IT knowledge, SQL, and all of that. It's more like an analysis-based role, so to speak, which is like consultant. You're more or less a consultant who would gather requirements and then profile a solution. I don't know if that's in order.
Okay, so it's not completely in order, yeah, because there are different diverse aspects to business analysis, which is what I mentioned, right? They have, they have business analysts who they call them the business intelligence analyst, right? They focus more on driving initiations around data. Just as our analysis, so we focus more on analyzing business problems. Just that's the core business analyst. Focus more on analyzing, business problems and then driving solutions. And then obviously around the problems. They focus more on doing the same thing that we do with business problems, they do with data, right? And so that's where the whole SQL, Power BI comes into play, right? However, there are times where you work on projects and you would then be asked to be spooling records from SQL. It might really not be too extensive or not be too detailed or in-depth as a data analyst. But there are times where I've had to spool records from SQL because I was working on a data migration project, right? So as a business analyst, you really do not necessarily know where you meet yourself. And that's why one of the things that I love about these 10 analytics is that they move you through the different phases. So from you understanding everything around data analysis within a certain period of time with a different tutor, then you're moved into understanding the core business analysis with a different tutor, right? I don't know if this explanation helps. So I'm trying not to give you a response that is fit into a box. Yeah. So I'm just trying to give you a response to say that you can meet any type of events on your journey into becoming a business analyst. But that's not to say that the response that you give to me is far-fetched. You're also correct. Is
Okay.
that good? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, Linda, for that fantastic response. Okay, Sarah, quickly ask the question.
I wanted to ask a question myself.
All right, please, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Linda, for your presentation.
Thank
Please,
you.
it was quite enriching. My question is going to take off a bit from the answer you just gave.
Okay.
Now, okay, for a new business analyst that is getting into that arena, I see you spoke about the functional analyst, requirement analyst, and the other types of business analysts. Now, how do you carve your niche? Is it that you can, as a business analyst, you can wear these different caps, or is it project that will determine the clients, that the business team that will determine how you fit in? I don't know if you can help.
I get your question. I get your question perfectly. So, just like I gave the response to the other person, being someone who has, had different domain experience in a very short time, right? And someone who's had to wear different caps of, being an IT business analyst, a system analyst, and all of that, I'll definitely tell you that it's really project specific, right?
Okay.
Some companies are very, they are, if some companies, I think the only one that is very distinct is the process analyst. That I can tell you, when they are bringing you in as a process analyst, you're just focused on processes, right? But if a company is bringing you as a business analyst, there's every tendency that you will be touching on different projects. You touch on processes, you touch on systems, you touch on products, really. Yeah. So you get to really touch on different things. But I think it's just the process that really stands on its own. And for system analysts, they might be more technical, right? Because they are analyzing systems. So more or less, they call them a technical business analyst. They do not necessarily need to know how to code, but you need to be able to understand different technologies, right? So if your developers are talking, you can't be in the dark. When they are doing their technical jargons, you also need to know what you are doing. Being a system analyst, is expected that you should even know how to test, right? There might be times where they will not even employ a QA on board. You are the one they will rely on, both for API testing and for normal, front end test. You're the one that have won different caps based on different, organizations that I've worked with, and then different projects that I've worked on. But one thing I would say is that business analysis is one of them, is very interesting for me. Like I said, I hate monotonous tasks. When I'm doing things, I feel like I'm doing repeated things. It gets boring for me and I want to leave. So for this, the fact that I have been able to be exposed to different projects, there are departments I've never worked in, but if you come in to sit down and tell me to walk you through their processes, maybe I've been talking HR because I've worked with HR for a very long time as a business analyst, right? So I can walk you through their processes. So your answer to your question is two ways. It is actually sometimes dependent on projects. Some companies will not spell it out for you in their JD. And then some companies will also spell it out. But I will tell you that the only distinct process, that the only distinct domain or realm of business analyst is the process. For process, you can be sure that you only focus on process.
Okay, thank you. Then one more question, please. You said usually when you start up, that the team usually shares a UAC or BRD. In a place where maybe the team doesn't have such documents, where do you start up from?
Okay,
how do you go about your work?
Yeah, so what you would do is, there are different materials that you can find, online. Yeah. And for some of the materials I started with, they were materials I even got from my training sessions. Yeah. There are times where I've worked with companies and I was even the one that brought in the materials that we're using. Do you get? So if you find yourself in that position, you can leverage on some of the materials you've gotten from training sessions, or, materials you get online. There's always something online for you to help you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you very much. I think the last person before we move on to the next session would be Lekon. Lekon, please ask your questions so we can move. I've asked you to unmute. Lincoln, please ask the question so we can move on. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I
can.
can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for your explanation so far. I just want to ask a question concerning the requirement gathering. Now, I understand most of the time when you work with as a BA, when you work with some company, they also want you to be. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, they want you to be in charge of the how will I put it, the business owner as well. They want you to be in charge. And most of the time, for example, you may mention, you cite example of, working with the e-commerce company. When you have to get probably on the point of making payment, they ask you which method you want to use for, getting your payment. Do you want to use cash and stuff like that? In a situation when you have problem with the IT department and you are trying to relate as a BA, trying to relate, your concern to them, they be like, you are not my boss, you are not the one that employ me, you are not the business owner, you are just a BA, in that kind of situation, how can someone relate with the IT
Yeah.
department?
All right. So you know how people always say that what are the skills needed to survive in this role, right? I would say listening, communication, and interpersonal skill. That your question does not have a one way, your question comes into play. Your skill in project management also comes into play for you to be successful in this role as a BA. So oftentimes there are a lot of companies that will not even employ project managers onto the team. So you are the one rounder, you are the BA on that team, you are the project manager. Do you get? So what you're asking is, how do you manage these people? Yeah.
Yes.
I'll share my experience. One thing that I do is I try as much as possible to build. I think I don't know if somebody needs to mute. One of the things that's helped me or still helping me is your relationship with people matters a lot, right? Your relationship with people matters a lot. When people sense that you are coming in from a domineering point of view, you need to, so you are you're a bridge between two teams. As business analysts, we are more or less called like the mothers in a team. You know how mothers can be. They try as much as possible. They are like the people that you consider that no matter how bad the child is, they will not abandon you. It's easier. I'm not saying, father would, but, mothers would be more, they will have more empathy, right? It is assumed that mothers usually would have more empathy. So where I'm coming from is you are trying to satisfy two different hands, the left hand and the right hand. What comes into play, right, is what relationship you have built with these people over time. It's very important. What relationship have you built with these people over time? And then your boss-like attitude comes into play. Do not think that every time I'm being calm with them. There are times where I take it hot because this job can be mentally draining. Yeah, can be mentally draining. Like today, I I even took a sick leave. I'm really not even well, and I'm here chatting with you. But I had already agreed to this master class, so I really couldn't back out. Yes, because I'm even really treating malaria, and I just realized that half of the time it's not even malaria; it's just the mental draining aspect of having to manage two different people, especially the technical team. God, they are the people that will test you from experience. Those guys will test you. They will test you definitely. If there's anybody that's working as a business analyst on the call, I'm sure they can agree. Those guys will test you. Well, I think one of the things I've done is interpersonal skill has really helped me. I try as much as possible to build a team that understands that we are collectively trying to create value for the organization. And you know how our KPIs work as a business analyst. They are dependent on each other. So if you have a project, for instance, within your KPI to say, I need to deploy this lending product within the first quarter. It's not just going to be on your KPI. It will be on the developer's KPI. It will be on the QA's KPI. It will be on everyone in the technical team KPI, even from the business key performance indicator, that's KPI. So it will be on everybody. So more or less what they are using to check your performance within a certain period of time, right? That's what I'm referring to as what metrics are they using. So if you have a project within the first quarter and they say we need to deploy this lending product. So if you don't, if you don't deploy this product, right? If you don't achieve your key performance indicators, you don't achieve it. They will mark the developer bad, they will mark the QA bad. So they need to understand that we are working together as a team. So you need to always drive that conversation. And there's one thing one developer said to me, which is what I'll say here. That Linda, you know why I like working on your project very quickly? Because you have a bit of empathy. Whenever I'm frustrated that the code is not working, you come, you join a call with me, you're not escalating, sending emails, you're listening to me, you're asking me what are the problems. Others should just be sending emails, copy everybody in the world, copy CEO, where are we? You are delaying. It's not easy to write code though. It's not easy. Some of these guys do not sleep at night. And I saw a lady before I joined this call. I was just on LinkedIn surfing the net, and I saw a lady literally crying that she has been awake for 7 hours and none of the code is working. So it's not easy for them as well. So you need to be able to understand. Sometimes they are quick to agreeing and saying 2 weeks. They are giving you 2 weeks timeline. But what are their blockers? So me, what I do is I try as much as possible. So whenever they are having strong head and I know that this thing has to come on board, if my interpersonal skills do not work, my empathy will do not work, I drag somebody higher to come on board, to come and settle our matter. So that's what I do. I don't know if that answers your question. So there's no one specific way you can do it. I'm just sharing my own experience with you.
All right, thank you very much, Linda. So let's just quickly go to the next phase of the session.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so it was a very, very enlightening session.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's quickly move on. We don't have time again. All right, so I believe a couple of us will be asking, so how do I become a business analyst? Very, very simple. I will be sharing with us just a few steps on how you can get started as a business analyst. Like from what Linda said, and for us at Analytics, we always want to, put our students, separate them from the competitors, right? You want to be different from other, business analysts within the ecosystem, and that's why you see we introduced this. See, I'm trying to just so we introduced analytics into our program. You get to see learn Excel, Power BI, and SQL for business analytics, right? So as a BA, yes, you would be, identifying processes and trying to optimize processes and, having to understand business flows and operations. Yeah, but we want you to be, distinct. We want you to be a distinct business analyst within the industry. So we introduce analytics to our program. So as a BA within analytics, you would learn Excel, you would learn Power BI, you would learn SQL for analytics. And they are very, very key because when you are recommending solutions, you do not want to just be on assumptions. You do not want to just state assumptions. You should be able to back up your solutions with facts, right? And that's where data analysis comes into play. Right, so within the analytics program, you would be learning analytics for the business analysis and career path, right? So you'll be moving on to project initiation planning and agile essentials. They are very, very key. We'll run you through methodologies, the different methodologies with regards to initiating projects. If you were listening very well to what Linda said, within the career path as a BA, you would be implementing your project management skill set, right? You should be able to implement the project management skill set because actually you are working on projects, right? You'll be meeting up with a lot of stakeholders and you should be able to execute projects, right? And you should be able to know how to initiate those projects, telling us how we're going to start this project and running it to its execution phase, right? So the other aspect of becoming a BA is software development life cycle, right? It's not always like a non-technical role. Yes, at some point, let's say, especially when you're working as an IT business analyst, like Linda made mention of, you will be doing the technical bits, right? You should be able to know how softwares have been developed, down from its identification stage to when you would have rounds of testing and when to be deployed down to the final users, right? You should be able to understand how softwares run, from its ideation down to development, down to first testing, second testing, before it's being deployed down to the final users, right? So within the business analysis training program, Analytics, we would run you through software development life cycles, right? You should be able to know requirement fundamentals, elicitation, analysis, specification, and approval. Actually, requirement gathering is what we just did in this session today, and it's actually the bread and butter of a business analyst, because there is no way you would not be, eliciting a requirement or even gathering requirements. It's very, very key. Because like I said, they are ingredients to make your soup better, right? Or probably they are ingredients to make your project come to life. You should be able to have a direction, ask certain questions that would enable you provide solutions, right? Having identified problems as a BA, your first job is to identify problems, right? Having identified problems, you should be able to solve, right? So you are providing solutions to problems, right? Having to understand business processes, to be able to identify business processes and optimize those processes, right? So requirement elicitation, requirement gathering are bread and butter for a business analyst. You should be able to leverage on Agile and Scrum methodologies for project, like I made mention of. So these are two kits of a business analyst, right? So also, when working on certain projects or trying to achieve certain tasks within the business operation, there are individuals you'll be working with, the back end guys, the individuals, let's say people in sales, people in logistics, individuals that form your team. Actually, they are stakeholders. You have internal stakeholders, you have external stakeholders, right? You should be able to engage them. You get, yeah, it's actually a skill. You should be able to engage them. You should be able to analyze them. You should be able to set performance measures, KPIs, right, for each of these stakeholders, right? Within the program, we would run you through stakeholder analysis and engagement, and as well as setting performance measures to be able to achieve the project you set out to achieve within the business operation, right? And a very juicy skill we've integrated into the program is what we call ChatGPT for the business analysis, right? If you'll be joining some of our sessions, you would have been seeing us, have ChatGPT sessions for data analytics, for data science, for HR analytics and data review, right? So as a BA, you should be able to leverage on technologies to make your work easier, right? ChatGPT would make your work easier. You should be able to communicate with ChatGPT. ChatGPT can provide solutions for you, can even give you recommendations for certain tasks. Let's say at some point you might be having creative blockage, right? You can always interact with ChatGPT. You can also get insight from data, because at the beginning of the roadmap to becoming a business analyst, like I made mention of, within the program in Analytics, you would do Excel, you would do Power BI, you would do SQL for analytics, right? And ChatGPT can give you insights. You can derive insight from data when you present them to ChatGPT. So, right? So at the end of all this, you would become a master business analyst, right? So the roadmap is quite simple. Learn Excel, Power BI, and SQL to set yourself apart from the competition, right? You want to be different from the ordinary BA in the job market, right? Adding analytics to your toolkit is very, very key. Then you move down to learning software development lifecycle. That's the technical bits of a BA. Then you move down to the bread and butter of business analysis, which is requirement fundamentals, elicitation, analysis, specification, and approval. Then you learn business analysis toolkits, you can be talking of let's say Jira, talking of different tools like Jira, Trello, Draw.io that you use to map out processes, right? They also learn stakeholder analysis and engagement, as well as activity for business analysis. Then at the end of the day, you become a master business analyst. All right, so let's just quickly move on. Yeah, so like I made mention of already, I've mentioned that the key learning areas within the program is Excel, Excel, Power BI, and SQL for data analytics, right? You'll also learn how to map out processes, because as a BA, you should be able to tell us how you intend to execute certain tasks. Show us, let's see. We're not in your head, right? So try to map out this process. How do you intend to solve specific problem? So from point A to point B to point C, show us a roadmap, right, in achieving the project, right? So you'll be doing also project initiation planning, right? You should be able to initiate projects, working on different methodologies. So there are some key methodologies like Agile and Scrum methodologies, right? You'd also learn software development lifecycle, like I made mention of discussing the roadmap to becoming a BA. You'd also learn requirement elicitation and fundamentals, having to ask the right questions that bring you closer to your solutions, right? You should be able to analyze and engage stakeholders, individuals that would enable you solve the problems you've identified, right? And lastly, ChatGPT for business analysis. This is actually our also a new add-on to the program, right? We want the program actually is to make you to set you apart from competitors in the market. Very, very key, right? You actually would not see this anywhere. Analytics for BAs and ChatGPT for business analysis. You can only find that in analytics. Right? So as a BA, you'll be averaging we've actually averaged different salary ranges. In the UK, you will earn per annum over 50,500 pounds in the UK, and in Canada, you'll be averaging over 74,462 Canadian dollars, right? So these are actually average prices. So you can always earn above these prices. You can always earn above these prices. So you can probably just check Indeed to see the prices, salary range of BAs in the UK, in Canada, in the US, right? So in the US, you get to average a salary of 85,874 US dollars, right? So very, very easy. A lot of persons have reached out to me. So how do I get started as a BA, or how do I engage with analytics to walk me through a career as a business analyst, right? So the program is actually for 3 months, right? A 3-month learning process. You get to learn for 2 months, right? You get to learn for 2 months and intern with analytics for a month, right? All about the program is actually a project-based training program. You get a project-based training program. We're not coming there to say stories. We are coming there to learn, because at the end of the program, at the end of the 3 months, you should have over 7 projects attached to your portfolios, right? You would have had over 7 projects attached to your portfolios, and the classes schedule, right? So we have 2 training time, because we have a lot of students cutting across the UK, US, Canada. Some persons making use of the Western time, West African time, and also the East African time. So we try to accommodate everybody. That's why we have 2 training time on Saturdays. On Saturdays, we have the morning session for individuals in Nigeria, West Africa, UK, right? The class is going to hold from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., right? So for individuals, these are actually convenient time for individuals in Africa, the UK as well, right? So for people that stay in Canada, US, they use the Eastern time, right? This is actually a very, very comfortable time for you to join the session, right? So you'll be joining the afternoon training session, which is for 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. West African time, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. West Africa. By this time, you'll be around 10 a.m. West African time, and it's actually a very comfortable time for you to join the training program, right? Like I made mention of, this Saturday training program are for live classes. You would have a conversation, a real-time conversation with your instructor, just like having to, just like what we just did now, where Linda came on board, to walk us through the process of requirement fundamentals, right? And you were able to ask questions, right? So that's how our live classes are, quite educative. Opportunity to ask your questions, right, through the live classes. So Saturdays are actually for live classes. You get to communicate, you get to draw your facilitator back in places where you do not understand, right? So on Sundays also we have timing for everybody. Like I said, for individuals in West Africa, UK, you'll be using the afternoon class, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. West African time. And for individuals in Canada and the US, you'll be making use of 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. West African time. So these training programs and training time are actually conducive and have been organized and structured to suit your convenience, right? So for Saturdays, how the classes are structured is, for Saturdays, you have live classes, right? Then on Sundays are for what we call the Watch Me Do It video, right? So Saturday, you have a conversation with your facilitator, right? You have a practical class. It's actually a project-based training program, right? Then for Sunday, you get to go through what we call the Watch Me Do It video. And that Watch Me Do It video, what does it do? It tries to simplify the concepts that will be taught the following Saturday, right? So we are trying as much as possible to reduce the talking time in the live classes, because that live classes are made for practicals, right? We want to come on live class to work on practical, work on projects, work on real life case studies, right? So for Sunday is where you would have the Watch Me Do It video delivered to you, right? So yeah, so this is the curriculum for the business analysis program, right? Like I rightly said at the beginning, Excel and Power BI for data analytics. You learn data manipulation using Excel. You learn data cleansing using Excel. You learn dashboarding using Excel. Building beautiful dashboards with Excel, right? You'd also learn data manipulation and data modeling using Power BI. Tax, you'll be learning that using Power BI, and as well as dashboard. You can always go through. We'll be sharing this slide to everybody. You can always go through the curriculum and see for yourself how packed the training program is. All right, so you'd also be doing project initiation planning, like I made mention of, and these are all the outlined activities you'll be doing within the program. You're working through business objective, who are stakeholders and how to identify them. You work on creating business cases. You work on conducting a kickoff and meeting as a BA, right? You'd also learn agile essentials. You'd also learn software development life cycles. And at the end of the program, you would have built over 6 high-end projects, like I made mention of, over 6 high-end projects within the program, right? So this is a continuation of the curriculum, requirement fundamentals, stakeholder analysis, setting up performance measures, as well as leveraging on business analysis toolkits like Trello, Jira, Draw.io, and what have you. Okay, good. So you would have heard Linda say this, right? So some job roles do not just come as business analysts, right? So some job roles do not just come as business analysts. Upon completion of this program, you can serve as a business analyst in any of these highlighted career paths, right? So yeah, you can serve as a business analyst. You get to see job roles stated as business analyst, right? You get to see job roles stated as business system analyst, right? Where you work on systems, right? So business system analyst is also in line with what BAs do, right? But this one, you are now, having to observe systems within a business operation, right? So yeah, you're working on IT related. That's majorly technical bits, right? As a general view, right? So IT business analyst is also in line with what BAs do. You get? Also, if working as an operations analyst, you can work as an operation analyst, you can work as a continuous improvement analyst, you can work as a change management analyst. Actually, BAs are what we call change agents. They're actually change agents within a business operation. They try to cause change, right? You can work as a business support analyst, you can work as a business process analyst. These ones tries to identify processes in the business that are not working and try to optimize them, right? So these are actually not limited to this, but these are some of the popular names, right? You can work as a business analyst in, right? So why should you train with analytics? So why should you train with analytics? Very, very key. Number one, we have up-to-date curriculum, right? So our curriculum is actually in line with EBAB, right? With the EBAB curriculum, right? So going through our program is even going above and beyond because we are even adding the analytics bit to the training program, right? So if you go through our program, you can always sit down comfortably to pass your EBAB exams, the CBAB exam rather, right? So going through the BA program within analytics comfortably makes you pass your CBAB exam comfortably, right? So we have industry experts with hands-on experience, just like Linda. And Linda has over a decade experience with diverse team cutting across oil and gas, FMCG, and FMCG, and also the finance industry, right? So you'll be getting to meet individuals like Linda, Chiu, Adeza, Ifemena, and the rest of them, right? So we have what we call the blended training delivery, to accommodate everyone, just like the live session and also the watch me do it video, right? For individuals that are not able, to meet up those training time, the recordings for the sessions are always provided to you. Every class has a recording. Every class has a recording. You can always fall back to those recordings and get a grasp of what was taught in class. For individuals that want to go over the videos again, you can always have the opportunity to go over the videos again and again. Yeah, so we also have what we call the additional employability services. I'll be talking about that in the next slide, right? So just sit tight and enjoy the flow, right? So we also have what we call the internship, virtual internship platform, right? It's designed to simulate the real work experience, and you're going to be working with other stakeholders like data analysts, working with data scientists, working with data engineers, right? Within the training program, it's actually called the joint internship program, right? You're working with other individuals that are in different programs. Like as a BA, then you deploy your activities and services as a BA within the projects that are assigned to you. At the end of all this, you get to secure your dream job in tech. All these activities prepares you to secure your dream job in tech. All right, so let's speak about the additional employability services, right? So the training program, the project base and all of those things, gives you a 50% or probably takes you closer to your job, right? So we want to now help you land those jobs, right? It's not always about the technical aspect of career path, right? You should be able to learn the soft skills. You should be able to, present yourself very well to recruiters. Because I think majority of the times, tech guys do not always have they always miss out on this aspect because they have all the projects, but they can't defend it. They're not able to stand before recruiters to share the project they've been able to work on, right? So they do not know how to put themselves out there in terms of branding, in terms of packaging, right? So that's why within the program we have what we call the additional employability services. Number one, going through the program, you get access to CV review sessions, right? Every week during the weekdays, you get to meet with our employability partner that walks you through your CV, because your CV is an online representation. It's actually a representation of you in a paper format, right? You want to just tell your recruiter what you've been able to do over the past couple of years, let's say 2 to 3 years. It goes through your CV and it has an idea of who you are, where you've been able to work, the projects you've been able to work on, right? So, and your CV should look fascinating. It should not be something, it should not have some specifics like date of birth and gender. So those are other things we would have to go into later on, right? So you should be able to have a presentable CV. Some person's CV here now, some people's CVs, when being presented to recruiters, they just land in, let's say, the waste bin, let's say online waste bin, because there's what we call the ATS. It's called the applicant tracking system, right? So immediately, that's why you see sometimes when you apply for jobs, you don't even get to the next stage immediately. Before you know, you just get automatic rejection mail, right? That's the job of the applicant tracking system. It tracks out and sieve out CVs that do not match the job description, right? So within the analytics program, we run you through what we call the CV review session. You should be able to have CVs that are in line with the job description. You don't just apply using one CV to different roles, right? So, and that's what we share within our CV review session. You should be able to align your CV to a specific job description. And every time you apply with different and fresh new CVs, right? We show you those toolkits. We show you the way to, to catch those fishes, right? So that's the idea of the program. So we run you through the LinkedIn optimization session. Very, very key. As a BA, you need to put yourself out there. And LinkedIn is one of the ways, to, to get recruiters to know who you are, right? So you're working on all of these projects and your data project and all of all those things. You need to show it, you need to push it out there, let the world see what you've been able to do and what you are currently doing. If you go on LinkedIn now and type analytics, hashtag analytics, you get to see a lot of our students who have maximized this opportunity, to ramp up their CV and their LinkedIn pages, and they are milking LinkedIn every time and then. You can just go on LinkedIn, type hashtag analytics, you get to see the project they've been able to work on, and it gives you that exposure. Recruiters will get to see that, okay, this person is just a business analyst by mouth. At least he can show us with proof that this is what he is doing, right? So for individuals that do not want to work 9 to 5 jobs, right? You can always, become contractors. You can always become freelancers. That's where Upwork comes into play. Working remotely from the comfort of your home, right? Upwork gives you the opportunity. And with Upwork, you need to be able to optimize your Upwork account, right? You don't just want to just have any Upwork account. The person just open up Upwork and they feel that individuals will just give them contract like that, right? You need to be able to pose yourself as a real gem, right? I'm trying to look for the real word here now, right? As a real gem and individual that knows his or her onion, right? So Upwork too gives you the opportunity to work remotely from the comfort of your home. And before anyone can, confidently give you a job on Upwork, they should have seen a proven track record, right? So that's where the Upwork optimization training comes into play. So the other one is navigating the job market. This session is very, very interesting for us because it gives us the opportunity to walk you through the different job markets in the world. So let's say you are in the US, the way you approach the job market in the US is different from the way you approach the job market in the UK, right? So you need to be able to understand the job market and be able to navigate them effectively and comfortably, right? So we also have what we call, number 5 is what we call the recommendation and reference letters. For our students, we're always proud of them, right? And we always try to provide them with the recommendation and references they need, right? Because immediately you are done with the first 2 classes, so immediately you are done with the first 2 classes, we push you to start applying for jobs, right? We push you to start applying for jobs. And in the process of applying for those jobs, you get to ask we are being asked to provide reference lists, and that's where analytics comes into play. We stand as reference for our students. We are proud, and we say that we've been able to train them, and they are the individuals that have this project, right? So we also have what we call the job and interview preparatory sessions for individuals who have they are bold enough to apply for these jobs, right? They get to receive interview mails, right? We always tell our students, do not just go for these interviews without going through us. We want to prep you for those interviews. We prep students for this interview. Because we have been doing this for over 2 years, we know the kind of interview questions that will be said to you, that will be thrown at you, and as well as some of the cases that we presented to you during the interview, right? So you should go through us. We're willing and always ready to walk you through the interview process so you can be confident, right, when speaking to your recruiter, right? So we also have what we call the weekly mentorship sessions that happen on Thursday evenings, right? And it's actually currently going on at the moment, right? By 10 p.m. we do have it weekly mentorship session for students of analytics only, right? So what we do here is at some point we bring in industry experts who are doing very well in their career path. We want you to see, we want to hold your hand, right? Because they've walked this path, right? They've walked this path and they know where you should not put your leg in, right? So they hold your hands and walk you through the business analysis career path painstakingly without any issues, right? So yeah, and at the end of the day, we have what we call the on-job support. So even if you are done with the program, right, and you get to secure jobs, and you have been presented with some tasks that are funny, right? You can always reach out to Analytics and we would help you on the job, right? So yeah, so these are some of the facilitators you'll be having within the session. Within your training program, we have the founder of Analytics, that's Abdiza Suleiman, right? He's a data analytics expert. He has close to a decade experience in data analytics and management consulting, and he has mentored over 15,000 Africans and people of the Black community to transition into tech, right? So we have a Femena Ipro. Femena Ipro is the co-founder of Analytics, right? He has over a decade experience too in data and analytics, and he currently works as a data analyst in one of the biggest firms in the UK, right? So you can, if you get this slide will be shared actually, so you can always go through the slide. And this is Linda, who has over 10 years experience. She was the one that took us through the requirement gathering process as a business analyst. So you have Sheung. Sheung is a product reliability engineer with Visa. He's one of the facilitators that will hold you through this 4-month journey. We also have Inena, we also have Olabisi, we also have Francis, right? And these are many other facilitators that will be engaging you through the journey in analytics, right? So join our next cohort. Our next cohort starts in November 4th, 2023, and that's the first Saturday of the month. All right, so I would love us to hear some of our students who have gotten jobs even before getting to the end of their program. Just give me a minute. All right, so Ramat landed a job as a business analyst after 3 months of completing the program with Analytics. And also, this is Ikmat. Ikmat also landed a job. Ikmat was a full-time housewife, like she used to call herself, full-time house mom, right? Full-time house mom in the UK, right? And she landed a job as a data analyst with the US with full sponsorship before the end of our program in Analytics, right? So I'll quickly play this video from Ramat speaking on our career journey with Analytics. Just give me a minute. Let me do this, okay? All right, so let's just quickly watch this from Ramat. Please do confirm if you can hear.
Hi, good day. My name is Ramat, and if you're stumbling on this, trust me, you've landed in the right place, because I'm going to be briefly sharing my experience with you about my journey with Analytics and how I was able to get a job with.
Can anyone still see my screen? If you can see my screen. All right, please type in a 1 if you can still see my screen. Okay, only one person, Mohammed. Okay, good. All right, good. Okay, good. So let's start the video again.
Within 3 months of joining the cohort, I joined them and enrolled for the course. Analytics as well-seasoned facilitators who are experts in the field. Imagine not having any experience beforehand as a business analyst and finishing with Analytics as a pro. Personally, I also got interview preparation sessions that helped me prepare well for my interviews, and this enabled me ace my interview. So if you're looking to transition or you're having any doubt, trust me, you shouldn't, because Analytics is really amazing and you should consider enrolling.
Right, so that's 8 months. I think some person were able to hear that.
Hi, good day. My name is Ramat, and if you're stumbling on this, trust me, you've landed in the right place, because I'm going to be briefly sharing my experience with you about my journey with Analytics and how I was able to get a job within 3 months of joining the cohort. I joined them and enrolled for the course. Analytics as well-seasoned facilitators who are experts in the field. Imagine not having any experience beforehand as a business analyst and finishing with Analytics as a pro. Personally, I also got interview preparation sessions that helped me prepare well for my interviews, and this enabled me ace my interview. So if you're looking to transition or you're having any doubt, trust me, you shouldn't, because
Friends. Hello, Bong.
On the course, guy.
All right, so Sultan, do you want some Sultan? Hello, Sultan. So some of our students that are currently taking the program would want to share their experience and how the training program has been for them. So Sultan, please, I've asked you to unmute yourself and let's get started. Are you still there? Because I don't understand that there's supposed to be a mentorship session going on at the moment and you need to be there. Hello, Sultan. All right. I think Sultan is not available at the moment. All right, so let's just continue because they're currently having a mentorship session at the moment and it's already 10. This is 10:08. All right, so let's just continue, right? So so how do you intend to join the program? So the next session is for November 4th, and I've seen a lot of persons asking for the costing, right? The price for the training program is 400,000 naira, right? If you'll be paying in pounds, you'll be making a payment of 400 pounds, right? But this is the main training program fee, right? But because for individuals, for the 59 people that stayed on the call, right, we have discounted it for the first 20 persons, right? So this discount applies to just the first 20 persons alone, right? So if you are still on the call, you can make a payment right now to be part of the first 20 persons. So for the first 20 persons, instead of you making a payment of 400,000, you're making a payment of 300,000 naira, right? And this discount is just available for the first 20 persons. First 20 persons to register have this opportunity to jump on the discount, right? So if you'll be making a payment in naira, you'll be making a payment of 300,000 naira instead of 400,000 naira. and you can make payments in 2 installments, right? The first part payment being 200,000 naira to get started in the class, and the second part payment of 100,000 naira to which will be made a month into the training program, right? So 300,000 naira is the discounted price for just the first 20 persons. For just the first 20 persons, instead of making a payment of 400, you're making a payment of 300,000 naira. So if you're making a payment in pounds, you'll be making the discounted payment of 300 pounds, and you can make payment in 2 installments, right? So you can make payment in 2 installments, which is the first part payment, 200 pounds to get started in the class, and the second payment of 100 pounds, which will be made a month into the training program, right? So to get started in the class, you need to make the first part payment, right, of 300,000 naira, of 200,000 naira rather, which is the first part payment, or 200 pounds for individuals making payments in pounds. For individuals making payment in Canadian dollars, you would make a payment of 350,000 Canadian dollars for your first part payment, right? So these are the discounted price for the training program. So instead of you making a payment of 400, you're making a payment of 300,000 naira, right? And you can make payment in 2 installments. 200,000 naira being the first part payment, naira being the second part payment, right? And this is only open to the first 20 participants, right? The first 20 participants to register gets to secure this discounted price, right? And it's just going to be open for a minimum of the first 20 persons. So once we pass the first 20 persons, once we are more than the first 20 persons, the others will be making the payment of 400,000 naira for the full price. So ensure to make payment through the Paystack link. My colleague would have sent that in the chat. So please click on the Paystack link to make payment, right? Yeah, so the discount is for the first 20 persons to register, right? And you can make payments using either of the account numbers as displayed on your screen. All right, so please jump on the discount for just the first 20 persons, to make payments, right? So if you get to go through the slides, you get to see a lot of the testimonials of other students, right? And it's not just Ikmat and Ramat. You can get to see testimonials from Cynthia. You get to see testimonials from Ken Ishola. You get to see testimonials from Disola. Disola got a full-time job as a business analyst in the UK after going through the Analytics business analysis program. Right? You can see the chat said, "Hello, Adeza. I am pleased to inform you that I got the job with the NHS." Actually, we are a very, very good, let's say, a lot of our talents, we've given them to the NHS because a lot of our students secure jobs within the NHS, right? So go through the payment details that have been shared by my colleagues, right? Or you can make use of the account details being displayed on your screen. All right, so this is the, I don't know, Ubong, please, can you please send in the payment details? Please send in the payment details. I've also shared it on the screen, right? So you can make payment using the account details for the UK account details and also the Nigerian account details, right? And also for individuals that want to make payment via PayPal, you can make use of that link that will be shared to you. So using the card, I only have access to PayPal. So you can make payment through Paystack. Paystack, if you want to make Naira payments, right? For individuals that want to make payments through other foreign currencies, you can make use of the PayPal account. So you can pay in dollars, you can pay in pounds using the PayPal account, right? So you can always go through the slides for other testimonials, look at other testimonials. this is also Rafiat landed a full-time role as a business analyst with the Post Office Limited in the UK, right? After going through the business analysis training program with Analytics, right? So you are not limited, actually. Like I said, once you are 2 weeks into the program, we start pushing you to start applying for jobs. You can also meet Benga. Benga got a full-time job as a business analyst after training with Analytics in the business with the data analytics and training program, right? So you can see Benga sending accolades to Adisa on LinkedIn and even via WhatsApp. He said it is not up to 3 months yet, but I've been confirmed, right, to work full time in Poland. This is actually Poland where Benga is, right? And he's currently working as a business data analyst within the company, right? So there are many other testimonials you can always go through. Sunday, who works as a regulatory data analyst in the UK. You also see Natanya, who works as a data scientist after completing the data scientist training program, right? So you can jump on the discount. The discount is only available to the first 20 persons to jump on it. So instead of making a payment of 400,000 naira, you make the payment of 300,000 naira, and you can pay in 2 installments, which is 200,000 naira for the first part payment and 100,000 naira for your second part payment, right? So go through the link to pay. Either if you want to make payment via card, you can go through the main start link, right? So I will just show us how it looks like here. Yes, so I will just show us how it looks like here. So it's loading. Just give me a moment for it to load. I want to show us through the process of making payments. All right. Okay, good. So this is actually the main start link. So immediately you click on the link, it gets you to this interface, right? Then you scroll down, right, to make payments, right? So if you are making payment through your Naira card, you might want to pay through Paystack, right? So you click on the first full part payment. Once you click on it, you get to see the different training programs we offer.
Yeah, sorry, Ledger, you're not showing your screen.
Oh, wow. Oops. Okay. Wow. Let me share. Okay. You share. So sorry about that. Thank you for drawing my attention to that. All right. So good. I believe it's working now, right? So let me go back.
Yeah, great.
Okay. So now once you click on the Paystack link, it gets you to this interface. Then you scroll down. If you're making use of Naira card payments, you click on the full and first part payment. It takes you to this interface, right? Then you click on business analysis. Then scroll down here. Then choose part payments and add to bag. From there, I believe that process should be easier for you, right? So for individuals that want to make payments using PayPal, you do not have a Naira card, you want to probably make payments with your card for pounds, right? You can always go through these platforms, which is the main stack. That's a main stack link that was shared to you, right? You click on the first part payment. Once you click on the first part payment, takes you to another interface. That same main stack, right? It takes you to another interface, right? So you click on the first part payment, which is 200 pounds, right? Then you click on buy now. So I believe that process should be easier for every one of us here. So right, so that's about the payments. Please ensure to be part of the first 20 persons, because immediately we are done with the first 20 persons, we will move on to the normal price of 400,000 naira, right? So for individuals paying in naira, jump on this offer right away, because it's actually limited. And I know why I'm saying this, it is actually limited. So I want to show us through the interface of the classes, right? Because how do we manage students in our classes? So how do we communicate with students? There's what we call the Google Classroom, right? So it houses all of the resources, all of our communication, right? It's actually a central warehouse for us. You get. So it works. I'm going to walk you through that process, and you get to see how the journey in analytics is like. All right. So please, Ubong, do let me know if you can still see my screen. I would need to. All right. Okay. Ubong, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
I can see your screen. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So this is the classroom. So I'm actually showing us a classroom for students in the August cohort, for individuals that started the program with us in analytics in August, right? So that's really a very fantastic process. At the beginning of the program, welcome to business analysis, right? You have your welcome kit, right? You have your welcome kit here. It's always here. You get to download your welcome kit. It houses the curriculum, shows you the roadmap when you'll be having so and so class, right? So you'll also show you, we have a video called Navigating the Google Classroom, because this platform we'll be using is going to be used throughout the 3 months you'll be with analytics, right? So there's actually a video to show you through this process, right? So welcome to business analysis is the first item in the Google Classroom, right? So yes, we'd also have installations, right? For individuals that have always been in my DM asking, so how do we intend to get all the softwares we'll be making use of, right? So there are detailed video on how to get those softwares downloaded on your system. You can see Microsoft Office. There's a video for that, right? So there's a video for that. You click on it. When you get access to the classroom, you get to have access to every detailed resource for your learning process, right? You also get to have access to Power BI, right? So for instance, let's say you're using your system as a system of is an operating system of 64 bits, right? We have that link that directs you where you get to install the Power BI that is compatible to your own device, right? So all of the installations are there, detailed in the classroom, right? So yes, the onboarding, we don't just leave you alone, right? So would also walk you through the onboarding process. Let's show you how the training would go like, right? Very, very key for us. Before we start any training, we always ensure that we onboard every student into the class, right? So the first class is MX Excel, right? Excel class 1. You can see it stated there, Excel what? Class 1. You get to have the class recording. After every of the classes, there are what we call the class recording, right? Because some persons might not be available at that time, right? Or for individuals that want to go back to the recording of the class, right? You'll always meet the recording in your Google Classroom, right? So the Watch Me Do This video, like I said, always delivered the following day, which is Sunday. Preparation for the next live class on Saturday, right? So you get to see you get to see all the resources with regards to the Watch Me Do It video, which is number 1. You can see number 1 using pivot charts, right? How to create charts, preparing dashboard, and then review. So these are bits. They're actually in small bits, right? They're actually in small bits, and it's something you can always learn at your pace, right? You can always learn at your pace. So there are login details for the sessions. You'll always find them in your Google Classroom, right? So this Excel class 2 case study presentation. So after you've done your Excel, there's always a presentation to be made, right? We also give individuals assignments. You would also present. We want you to be grounded in what we taught you, right? And if you can remember when I was talking about employability sessions, I made mention of the mentorship session, right? So you can see mentorship session 1. So these are the recording to the sessions. All right, so you get to see the CV review session 1. Watch me do the video for Power BI, Power BI 1, Power BI 2, Power BI. This is the bonus class for the students, right? And also, immediately you are done with Power BI, you have a case study presentation. So after every of the session of the module, anytime you finish any module, we always have a presentation, right? So this is mentorship session 2, right? SQL 1, right? SQL 2. Oh, my laptop is almost running off. All right, so we have the CV review session and some other sessions called navigating the job market, right? So this is immigration pathways for technical professionals, right? And drop-in sessions. So these drop-in sessions are actually sessions we have for students that do not get a grasp of what was taught on Saturday. We'd always have this session during the weekdays. You get so, and Jeremy, so these are actually, it's actually a structured process. This is actually a structured process, and till the end of your capstone project, right? Till the end of your capstone project. So yeah, I believe.
Okay, guys. So while Ledger is coming back, so quickly, I hope we all enjoyed the session, right? Please confirm you can hear me clearly. Yeah, guys, please confirm you can hear me. All right, thank you. Great, great. So while Elijah was actually presenting, I think his network tripped off. So I hope we all enjoyed this session, and we would like to be part of this amazing team, Analytics, and to take up the course business analysis and to take that skills before this year runs out. So into a new year, we are going to a year with great say. All right, great. Temitope said, okay, just made payments. Great. So upload your proof of payment on the link. Yeah. So on the attendance sheet, you can click and register. So you can be added and also get the materials that was used today. So I'm sending the attendance sheet again. So kindly fill the form so you can gain access to the recording. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Cheers. Till we meet again in another masterclass session. All right, guys. Cheers. Do we have any question before we call it a day? Any question? Temitope, your hand is raised. Is that a question?
Yes, I do have a question. I want to ask, where is the link to where to upload our proof of payments? I'm actually on
Okay.
transit staff. I couldn't really follow.
All right. Still on the link, the main stack link. If you click there, scroll down, you're going to see where to upload. You see a place to upload your proof. Yes, you see it there. Then you can upload it there.
Okay.
All right.
Main staff link.
Yes, the one we dropped, the main stack link. So I'll be dropping it again. Yeah, I'm dropping it again on the chat. Yeah. So you go in there, you can see where to upload. We have different links attached to or embedded here. You still have direct access to upload your proof, and you'll be sent
So I
a confirmation.
made the payment using a Naira account, and I made the first part payment of the Naira account, using my Naira account anyways. So that's what I did. So I hope that was accepted.
All right, yeah, sure, great. All right,
Thank
Laju, what's your question? Would you love to unmute? Laju, would you love to unmute? Laju, were you asking a question? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. You can follow us on our socials to get more information, and let's call it a night. All right, guys. All right. All right. Take care, guys. Thanks. Cheers. All right.